morning. So this past weekend, I watched the movie Daisies. It's a surrealist psychedelic film from 1966 made in Czechoslovakia. So this movie follows two girls who are kind of implied to be escorts as they come to this conclusion that the world is this like spoiled, rotten place of excess. And so to combat this, they decide that they too will be like spoiled and live this life of mischief and excess. So they do this by taking advantage of men, they're destructive, and they even go to this like catered event where they eat all of the food and they destroy the entire spread. So my initial interest in this movie came because I saw it recommended online from someone who said to watch it if you liked Valerie and her Week of Wonders. So first things first, this is nothing like that movie. And the only real similarities lie in the fact that both of the movies are from Czechoslovakia and both have like some trippy visuals. After that, the similarities just end. So visually, however, this movie is really interesting to me because it has a lot of like kind of pop art inspired aesthetics to it, kind of think like Andy Warhol. And you get these interesting scenes where the colors randomly change from blue to green to purple. But then the movie also changes pace frequently. And it's like when these girls are kind of causing mischief, the movie pace changes to almost like a 1920s silent movie where everything is really fast paced. It's kind of interesting. It feels really like experimental, I guess you could say. And I think for me, the most interesting part of this movie wasn't actually the movie itself. It was in the conversation that I had with my friends about it afterwards. So I watched this movie with two other people, and I remember one of them telling me that out of all the movies that I had shown them, this was the strangest, which for me, that was an accomplishment in and of itself. It kind of seemed at times that there was no plot, and I think if you watched this movie and you didn't really think about it, you would agree with that. You would think that there was no plot. So we end up finishing the movie, and we're all talking about it, and we're kind of sort of like working out our confusion. And one of my friends actually had a full like interpretation of it, which was different for me because I had kind of started to come to the conclusion about a couple things in the movie, but I hadn't really worked it out yet. So upon having this conversation with my friends, I actually kind of went down this journey where I realized that a lot of these kind of psychedelic surrealist movies get written off because of how strange they are. People think that either they're all visuals or you have to be like on drugs to watch these movies, and there's kind of this thought that maybe there's no deeper meaning to it. And after having this conversation with my friend, I realized that there is a deeper meaning to a lot of these movies. You just kind of have to think about it a little bit more, or you kind of have to like zoom out enough because there is something there to interpret, which I thought was really cool. There's more to these like types of movies than meets the eye, and they just get written off really quickly. And this movie actually did have a message. Through all of its like weird elements and weird visuals and comedic bits, this movie was actually kind of a warning. It was a warning of the consequences of living a life of chaos, destruction, and excess, and that should you continue down this path, you wouldn't be able to outrun the consequences even if you tried to fix it. So this movie kind of did show this like moral point in a comedic way at the end, which I can appreciate. And while I thought the movie itself was kind of mid, I actually really enjoyed this awakening that I got from it and watching it with my friends. It was like the three of us watched it, but we all saw something different, which for me was a really cool experience. So overall, I want to give the movie a 5 out of 10, mainly because I just didn't really connect with it, and I went into it sort of expecting something a little bit more similar to Valerie and her Week of Wonders, and that's my own fault for that. That's my own fault for going into it thinking, having my own expectations of it. It wasn't my favorite, but it was something different for sure.